My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. I don't get paid to spin narrative. I'm trying to be fair and balanced because I have made a lot of sweeping judgments about the super rich recently. In fact, my persona is so radioactive, most people who care about their reputations avoid any association with me at all costs. Meaning that I get no play for ass-kissing. What's true for me is true for most people. Satisfaction comes from delivering the goods and keeping my end up. My background should inform most of you about why I have a passion for the truth and why the main theme of my channel is simply, everything is a racket. First, I would like to apologize to Mark Zuckerberg for referring to him as this motherfucker here in my video titled 15 Billionaire Hacks That Really Work, if that's what you're into. The man clearly deserves more respect than the motherfucker reference. The problem is that I allowed my irritation with the subtext of Alux's video to color the tone of what I was saying about their Zuckerberg narrative. Creating the phenomenon now known as a social network that has changed the entire way that people communicate and do business is not an evil deed worthy of such derision, even if some of his co-creators might have lingering resentments. Besides, the Zuckerbergs are actually really nice people, who give more to charity than I ever have or probably ever will as a percentage of their income. Not to mention that he came out strong for net neutrality recently. And generally speaking, most of 2017's top billionaires happen to be spectacular philanthropic people. Just do a video search for any one of them listed below, watch their body language as they talk, and tell me if you think I'm wrong. In researching this installment, I watched Bill Gates talk more about the efficacy of vaccines with a deeply furrowed brow of genuine concern for the disadvantaged on a video where he was supposed to be commenting on Donald Trump. The bottom line is they're the most wonderful people in the world who also happen to make money from a corrupt culture of sociopaths on Wall Street, just like anyone else you know who has a 401k, IRA, pension plan, or savings account, among others. Furthermore, most of the top billionaires began as young pioneers working towards a vision for the future with a passion for problem solving, not large-scale remuneration. Moving on. Looking at the 2017 list of the richest billionaires, notice that someone is missing. You've probably heard it before, that Vladimir Putin is in fact the richest man in the world. USNews.com's article, "The Richest Man in the World Could Be Putin," quotes Forbes, "We value individual assets, including stakes in public and private companies, real estate, yachts, art, and cash, and take into account estimates of debt. We also consult an array of outside experts in various fields." Forbes wrote in 2015, but noted that some individuals cooperate while others don't, and added that the magazine excludes dictators who derive their fortunes entirely as a result of their position of power. Considering that Russia now has about 96 billionaires, we might imagine that Putin cannot possibly own it all. But then there is this from Time.com. Quote, "The palace was personally built for Putin but paid for using a secret slush fund created by a group of Russian oligarchs, according to a self-exiled Russian businessman named Sergei Kolesnikov, who provided evidence of the alleged scheme to the BBC. The alleged scheme suggests a system in which the Kremlin's power grants Putin access not only to his country's corporate wealth but also to the personal accounts of Russia's richest oligarchs. The question comes down to how much and what kind of leverage Vladimir Putin can apply and where, which is substantially beyond any great heft of slushy cash. The U.S. presidential election of 2016 clearly illustrates Putin's influence and reach. What makes him dangerous is the extent of his power beyond his wealth, his ability to seduce powerful people into unholy arrangements to shape politics around the world. More generally, it's his ability to compromise and exploit just about anyone for his own purposes. As we witness the folding of world commerce into a smaller and smaller group of monopolies, Vladimir Putin's ambition for world domination becomes more and more obvious. The richest people in the world are mostly Americans: Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Amancio Ortega from Spain, Mark Zuckerberg, Carlos Slim from Mexico, Larry Ellison, Oracle Corporation, Charles and David Koch, Koch Industries, and Michael Bloomberg, Bloomberg LP. All but two of them are from the United States. Now, according to the World Economic Forum 2017, quote, fewer than 10% of the world's public companies account for more than 80% of all profits. Get this. The top multinationals are Apple, Alphabet, that's the 2-year-old parent company of Google, sounds weird, right? Microsoft, Berkshire Hathaway, ExxonMobil, Amazon, Facebook, Johnson & Johnson, General Electric, and China Mobile. So 4 of the top companies are owned by 4 of the 5 richest people. Interestingly, 4 of the top companies, Alphabet's Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon, were all started in garages, with the 5th, Facebook, started in a college dormitory. And 3 of the founders of these companies, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg, not to mention Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, were all college dropouts. By contrast, all of the other companies except China Mobile, but including Berkshire Hathaway, were started in the 1800s. In other words, 5 of the top 10, as well as Oracle, though not on the list, were upstarts that almost certainly had a destabilizing effect on the status quo. The other 5 companies could be considered old money. Throughout history, newly rich upstarts have struggled their way to the top against the dynastic rule of old money. It's nothing new. GE was founded by a revolutionary upstart, Thomas Edison. Other than the fact that Bill Gates has consistently been the richest man in the world off and on for decades, the list of the top 10 richest people in the world is a rolling boil of change. The time between 2001 and 2004, when 5 of the top 10 were Walmart heirs, shows a bit of that old dynastic tenacity. It's a war. The newly rich claw their way to the top through blood, sweat, and lawsuits, only to wear out their boot heels kicking interlopers off the ladder once they get there. Even though Gates, Ellison, Buffett, and Zuckerberg have all signed the pledge to donate most of their fortunes to charity, they still seem to be hanging on to quite a bit of their wealth. It's almost like that whole pledge thing was some kind of okey-doke maneuver to bump the king of the hill de jour off his perch. And then, just when they're all having such a good time, Vladimir Putin comes along and changes the game from king of the hill to hockey. But now we're not playing for market domination anymore, we're playing for total domination, like the world is one giant monopoly board. Yeah, that makes sense. Monopoly on skates with hockey sticks and guns and shit. The appearance of Vladimir Putin may sound like an awkward twist, like Batman swinging into a James Bond movie. Nevertheless, there is a connection. The top companies Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook hold virtual worldwide monopolies in their respective fields. Even though Apple's market share is somewhere below 20%, they have managed to cultivate monopolistic pricing power, especially in parts and repair of their products. See, a prominent UBS analyst explains why he thinks Apple is a monopoly, by Kif Leswing, Tech Insider. China Mobile is a regional monopoly owned by the Chinese government, which complicates expansion elsewhere in the world because of spying concerns by other governments. Otherwise, with 3 times as many subscribers as Verizon and AT&T combined, China Mobile could instantly take over the world. So basically, their enmeshed nature isolates them. The point is that a small number of entities, just a handful of American companies, dominate the world. But crucially, those companies hold the potential for extraordinary power over private information and public perception. If someone could compromise the leadership of any one, let alone a number of those tech giants, what could they do then? Do we know any powerful people who may have been compromised lately? Are they billionaires? How hard was it to compromise them? Vladimir Putin is like a puppet master who stores his money in people, not financial institutions. See usnews.com, link below. He's a mob boss who runs the biggest family of billionaires on the planet, who consequently turn other billionaires into patsies and pawns. It's a distinction that gives Vladimir Putin a kind of leverage in global politics that we may never have seen before. Consider the way that Fox News has fawned over this president of a former Cold War adversary, and how he has been able to get hold of the hearts and minds of so many Americans. He may have had a hand in Brexit, and otherwise, the expansion of white nationalism around the world. Side note, Dylan Roof is a self-described white nationalist now on death row for killing 9 people at Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina back in June 2015. Vladimir Putin is clearly flexing a kind of political warfare muscle that we are not used to seeing coming from a foreign power. That's because we Americans invented it. Behold, Another facet of globalization where turnabout is fair play to whomever owns the most referees. And in case you were wondering, Vladimir Putin, one-on-one, is supposedly very engaging, intelligent, entertaining, totally reasonable, and even funny at times. However, business is business.
Не лезь не в свое дело.
Well, that's it for now. My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this has been News from the Can. If you like this content, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.